Hey everyone, welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 924. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust. The documents in the description of the video for you to follow along with and reference. I'm here with my co-panelists, Dollar Will, MOT, and the Gone 11. What's going on, man?
What's happening? What's happening?
Nothing much.
What's up?
Nothing much.
What's going on, Mike?
Nothing much, bro. You know, the election in 2024 was a pivotal moment, in American history in politics. Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump was one for the books. And one of the things that was brought up and is constantly brought up was she a viable candidate to begin with? And, this is all past tense and stuff like that. But the thing here is, when you're talking about black politics, when you're talking about the black voter, black men in particular were a contentious sort of discussion around how do you organize black men and how do you get the black male vote, right? And in 2020, there was something called a platinum plan that Trump came out with during the September 2020 election. And then now in 2024, when you fast forward, you go into 2024, the debate was, does Kamala Harris actually have a black agenda? Well, she did have a black agenda. And then the conversation went further and said, well, what about black men, the black male vote? Trump is going to siphon off, whatever percentage of the vote he was going to get. And what did Kamala Harris have at the time, to woo black men into into the ballot? When you really think about it, Trump did not have an agenda for black people or black men in particular. But when Kamala Harris did have one, that suddenly was not enough, right? And so people pushed back and they said, well, I just don't rock with her, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the question I have is, did a black male agenda really matter to black men in order to support either candidate? What say you guys?
Who want to go first?
Who wants to go?
I'll go. I'll go, Joe.
Okay, I'll be the lightweight on this one. I'll say, first of all, anyone that has a track record of being vice president of the United States, I think that's qualification. Okay. I think that a lot of, I'm trying to find a nice way to say we're full of crap. It's like we major. First things first, big items first. We needed, while we were looking at gender politics and expecting a black agenda, it's not, in our fractured mind, it's not a black agenda unless it says black. Most of the things that black people want help America. It doesn't have to say black. So I guess are we expecting a rollback of the movement that empowered women and didn't aggressively promote black men in the interest of racial equality, and we want that solution all right now? I guess I'm not really sure what we expect from our elected officials in the name of a black agenda. Because our issues historically are human rights issues. They don't have to be labeled black.
Anyone else want to jump in?
For me, I don't think it was about no black agenda, because you're talking to apolitical and ahistorical people who want something that was black agenda that they didn't even name what it was. And when you don't have an understanding or a telling of history, the complete history, and you just ask for things out of turn, it just turns into a and And if you look at the other side, they wasn't required to do nothing. We just have a bunch of, Delta Novembers just trying to posture themselves in a position to where they're trying to take hostages in the situation where you just need Jackson to participate. Like, none of these people were serious. They wasn't serious about any agenda, even when Trump was there. So you had this so-called, 19-point agenda for Black men, and all of a sudden, no political content after the orange man got back into the presidency. Byron Donalds, no cabinet position. Tim Scott, no cabinet position. John James, no cabinet position. And if you look at all the Black people who was in the previous administration, that was actually taken out of the administration and not replaced with. So, what is this Black male agenda? Like, you can't ask for your name to be on stuff and then you don't say what needs to be in it. I mean, I'm glad this is not a factor where I live in Colorado, but I just consider these people political non-participants, and they was just trying to find a reason not to participate and build an actual strength-based system based on non-participation and wrapping the actual system around non-participation when they all live in liberal areas. So I'm not sure how much more of a black agenda that you need when you don't live in conservative areas, you live in liberal ones.
Nicole 11.
Yeah, as far as a Black male agenda, if you're saying, was that going to be important for these guys to, come in, or would that be important for these people to come and vote for them, for conservative or from the liberal side? I'm going to say no. The conservatives, not important for them because they went and supported a man who didn't have any agenda for them, didn't come up with another agenda for them. And you had a Black candidate who they didn't want to say was considered Black, and put forth a Black male agenda, and they went against this person. So no, no. That was not important. You have people supporting people who had who went against your community, against your people. These people were going there supporting that, and then going against a candidate who actually had a Black male agenda. So no. I certainly can't say that. Say that was actually important. No. No. And those who said that it was, that voted against those that had an agenda, just showed you exactly what really was going on with that. What was really going on with that. So that's my answer to that. Go ahead.
I want to add, the idea of a Black male agenda is a great idea, but I don't remember that idea coming up when it was Biden versus Trump. So a Black woman, or if they want to say questionably Black woman, coming onto the ticket now we have to talk about a Black agenda. I mean, we Black all the time, 24/7, 365. We need to be living Black agenda throughout, and we don't. Okay, now if we want to talk about, I'm saying later, throughout the whole Black manosphere at large, yeah, let's have a Black agenda that we're about every day, 24/7, 365. And I propose that we make unionization a priority on the Black agenda.
Indeed. Let's get to the document that Kamala Harris did put together, that the Harris campaign did put together back in 2024, and kind of evaluate whether or not, she had an agenda versus the other guy. So this is from the Harris campaign. This is the PDF. Vice President Harris will deliver for Black men. She will provide the tools to Black men to build wealth, support their families, lead in their communities. I'll just read for this really quickly. Vice President Harris will build an opportunity economy where everyone has the opportunity to not just get by, but to get ahead. She knows that Black men have long felt that too often their voice in our political process has gone unheard, and that there is so much untapped ambition and leadership within the Black male community. Black men and boys deserve a president who will provide the opportunity to unleash the talent and potential by removing historic barriers to wealth creation, education, employment, earnings, health, and improving the criminal justice system. Black men deserve a president who will deliver on promises and equip them with the tools and resources to make their aspirations a reality. While traveling across the country to cities like Atlanta, Detroit, and Charlotte, she heard powerful stories from Black men about the biggest hurdles that still make it too difficult for them to get their businesses off the ground and grow them to meet their full ambitions, and discuss policies that can help break down remaining barriers to success. Drawing on the insights from her experience throughout her career in her economic opportunity tour, today Vice President Harris is laying out an opportunity agenda for Black men to provide them with the tools to achieve financial freedom, lower costs, to better provide for themselves and their families, to protect their rights. This path-breaking agenda includes providing 1 million loans that are fully forgivable to Black entrepreneurs and to start a business. 2, champion education, training, and mentorship programs that help Black men get good paid jobs in high demand industries and lead their communities, including pathways to becoming teachers. 3, supporting a regulatory framework for a cryptocurrency and other digital assets so Black men who invest in and own these assets are protected. 4, launching a national health equity initiative focused on Black men that address sickle cell disease, diabetes, mental health, prostate cancer, and other health challenges that disproportionately impact them. 5, legalizing recreational marijuana and creating opportunities for Black Americans to succeed in this new industry. Let's think about this for a second. Let's start with number 1, right? Providing 1 million loans that are fully forgivable to Black entrepreneurs and others to start a business. To me, that's more of a grant, but either way, working with the SBA and making sure that Black men have access to, all of the mechanisms that help create a business through the SBA and partnering with federal contracts, I think that's huge. What do you guys think?
I think it directly, gets right to some of our key issues, and definitely getting into business and moving forward there is very important. So do I think that's huge? Of course that's huge, and that helps to put you on, give you a better footing on the playing field, and that's where we want to be. We certainly want to be entrepreneurial. We want to be in business. We want to grow independent businesses. Certainly getting financing and so forth, and helping to get that together. And business credit and so forth to really launch businesses are critical. That's one of the big issues that Black businesses have a problem with, is being able to get, be able to really get off the ground like that critically. But yeah, that's exactly what we need, and of course that's critical. That's bottom line to our game for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if you all right, go ahead, Johnny. Well,
now, what does fully forgivable mean?
Forgivable up to $20,000 to Black entrepreneurs. How they work that out, I think that's up to the SBA. But I think it's a start more than anything else. Last time I checked, and I think we covered this several years ago on the Black Brain Trust, during the pandemic, there were Black men who went to Wells Fargo to try to get a loan for their business, during the pandemic, and they were denied. And these brothers had credit scores of 750.
They sure did. And Wells Fargo turned their back on them. And I had a couple of fraternity brothers that were starting an actuarial business, profitable, with money in the bank already. And they were denied from them. And we were in the middle of a frat meeting, and we were talking about this, of which they could not understand during that period. And I said, the reason why you didn't get that was because of who you were. They had a hard time processing that. That's precisely what the situation was.
Yeah, when I hear fully forgivable, my mind wonders, are they talking about with no adverse consequences to your credit report if you don't pay it back.
I mean,
If it means any of that kind of leniency, oh man, that would have been a big win. Go ahead.
but that did happen with the PPP loan and the EIDL loan. I didn't have to pay back any one of them because I used it in the way that they told me to use it, and I didn't have to pay back either one of those loans. Neither one of them I had to pay back.
So
it could have been like that. Yeah. So it became a grant. Yeah.
Nice. I think also with this, we kind of like, I don't want to take all this out of context. My criticism of my party. Okay, I'm a registered Democrat. I get to criticize my party. Okay, the ninth hour switch up from Biden to Kamala, the party should have broken from the tradition of letting the incumbent run again. That was a bad idea to begin with. So given that she had so little time, that wasn't her fault. So I don't want people to pick apart, scrutinize, her plan here when she didn't have the benefit of time. That was the party's failure. I wouldn't attribute that to her.
But the excuse was she came in with this program to help Black men in business and so forth, or a Black male agenda, was too late.
That wasn't her choosing. She didn't choose.
where the other side didn't even have a plan,
right?
And they still went with it. You have to really make sense out of that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, let me further go into this. Vice President Harris has already laid out a plan to help more small businesses start, innovate, and expand. She proposed a historic tenfold expansion of the tax deduction for small business startup expenses from $5,000 to $50,000 in an initiative to help existing small businesses grow by providing low and no interest loans to small businesses that want to expand, boosting access to venture capital and supporting innovation hubs and business incubators. And she said she will cut unnecessary red tape that makes it harder for small businesses to file taxes, hire a reliable workforce, and get off the ground. But Vice President Harris knows that today the money needed to start your own business is not accessible for many Black Americans. Studies suggest that Black Americans are twice as likely to be denied credit by banks, regardless of their credit scores. Experts and Black entrepreneurs have identified limited access to capital as the most important factor that limits the creation and growth of Black-owned businesses. That's why today she is proposing a new partnership between the Small Business Administration and trusted partners on the ground to provide loans that are forgivable up to $20,000 to entrepreneurs who have a good idea but don't have the resources, connections, or access to capital to get their businesses off the ground, as well as entrepreneurs locating in underserved communities. This will help Black men and other Americans start or grow a business in their community when they don't have the startup capital. On the Black Brain Trust, we've discussed this many, many times about the venture capital industry. And
on many occasions.
And we've talked about the $270 billion in venture capital that's out there for startups. Black people were getting less than 1%.
Wait a minute.
Less than 1% of that money.
I thought we were post-racial.
Let these people tell it, right?
Yeah, we post-racial, all right.
Right. And so when we think about what this agenda is, this is very beneficial for Black men. And the fact that she came out with it as a part of her initiative was very bold, right? Because the other guy didn't have a plan at all. But my thing here is the questioning of legitimacy of her plan when the other guy didn't have a plan. If you voted for the other guy, why did you vote for him with no plan as a Black man when she had an agenda for Black men and you didn't support it? So does it really, really matter about having an agenda for Black men, or does it not? Like, okay, if you didn't vote for him and you chose the couch, do you really have any grounding in this discussion? I'm trying to understand the Black male vote, right? Because people are looking at the Black male vote as a go-to vote, but it seems more like a swing vote. and it can go either way for some black men. Some black men that we've spoken to, at least in the manosphere, thought that Robert F. Kennedy was a better candidate. And he had no black male agenda. There was no black male agenda on the table. I mean, reparations, that can go either way, but when it came to an agenda like this, I didn't hear Robert F. Kennedy talking about, access to venture capital and startups and the immediate framework of working with the SBA and things like that. I didn't hear anything like that.
No, and
of course not. I mean, like I said, this play was nothing but a build of leverage without participation. Mm-hmm. They just wanted to have an excuse to not come out. They wanted people to come out and kiss their ass, and it wasn't going to happen. But at the end of the day, people come talk to you based on previous performance. Mm-hmm. And if everything in the system actually benefits you, they don't have to keep trying to come and get you out even more. It's your job to understand what's going on and for you to actually show up. We don't do these type of things in the different metro areas. Because the more you do for quote unquote black people and put their name on it, they stop showing up.
And if the other side is going to racially charge the environment, how much better does the opponent have to be? One side is going to racially charge the environment, the other one is trying to give you some opportunities. I mean, to say no to racial friction and reduce that. I mean, how much we're going to grow and progress in a racially charged environment is greater than the norm. So we saw this coming. These racial tensions we have right now, we saw all of this coming. Mm-hmm. I don't mean just we the blame branch. I mean we Black America. We all saw this coming. Yeah. So all of a sudden we act like we've lost the understanding of the relationship between cause and effect. Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that. I mean, at the end of the day, we just got to have more sense than to act like these individuals who needed a black male agenda needed one in order for them to show up to vote. They didn't ask the other guy for anything. They didn't ask the Republican Party for anything. They didn't ask for seats or anything else. They didn't care at all. So we just have to be able to move on from the idea of this political kind of, trolling and just making it seem like, oh, well, if they would have did this, that, and the other, then things would have been different. I'm like, nah, man, the dudes already live in liberal areas. I mean, the situation is over with. I don't know any of these black men who live in conservative areas. They all live in liberal areas. So they already are on the side.
Well, as I keep mentioning, the one who did have a plan or a black male agenda and signed it out, and who had gotten that agenda together actually before they ran, for my deep understanding of this, that person did not get supported by these people, and they supported one who didn't have a black male agenda.
And also, the racial rabble-rouser crowd also ignored the fact that they had an agenda too. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just the men who made it look like, oh, they was just on the tip of their toes ready to vote, but there was no black male agenda, so they didn't know what to do. But the racial rabble-rouser class also didn't actually cover it. The ADOS FBA people didn't cover this plan. And it's not like the plan was hidden. It's pretty well understood what it is. Look, most of my stuff I had to self-fund. It doesn't matter how good my credit was. We ain't gonna give you no money. Period.
And you're not gonna go, and you're not gonna get as far as when you get off having to self-fund. When it's one thing, for you to self-fund and come up with your own 15 or 20,000, or that's just still not a number, to somebody else who can go to a bank and get $250,000 or whatever that they may need to start. It's big difference. All right, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah. Let's go to
say this one last thing. Vote blue, no matter who, if the other side is heightening racial tensions.
They're gonna clip that, Will. They're gonna clip it.
Simple. You know, and look. Now, especially if your plan is to, if your rationale was, I voted for Obama because he's black.
Yeah.
Why can't you vote blue no matter who if the other side is heightening racial tensions? Sounds like it goes with, I voted for Obama because he's black.
Mm-hmm. Let me get to this next bullet point here. Expanding access to bank accounts and lending to help Black men build wealth. Vice President Harris will also work with the private sector to expand access to affordable banking options that will allow Black men and others who are locked out of the banking system and the wealth building that comes with it because of high fees to save, invest, and build credit. She will also go after banks that will slap on hidden fees for basic services. Vice President Harris took on predatory lenders when she was Attorney General of California. She will stand up for Americans who are exploited by predatory lending practices by going after these scammers and requiring credit reports to exclude bad debt resulting from predatory lending practices. Enabling Black men who hold digital assets to benefit from financial innovation. More than 20% of Black Americans own or have owned cryptocurrency assets. Vice President Harris appreciates the ways in which new technologies can broaden access to banking and financial services. She will also make sure owners of and investors in digital assets benefit from a regulatory framework so that Black men and others who participate in this market are protected. You know, this is really interesting. You had a whole lot of Black men running around with, you know, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum and whatnot. And back in 2020, back during the pandemic, even before the pandemic, like 2019 or so, suddenly those Black men are nowhere to be found.
Yeah, all their channels are gone. Wonder what happened.
Very interesting.
You know, they were like mummies hitting the air for the first time in 5,000 years. Poof, they went to dust. I don't see them.
Yeah, everybody had digital crypto wallets, Coinbase, and all that stuff, right? Now all of a sudden, no one's to be found when it comes down to cryptocurrency regulations and regulatory frameworks, right? Mm-hmm. All right.
They went from Keisha Bass into cryptocurrency. There was an actual plan to protect them because there was a lot of crypto scams out there that I know some of these people got caught up in. And to deny somebody who was going to give you the regulatory framework to actually protect you, which would have protected everybody else, which would have went under the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, but that was, you know, immediately dismantled by somebody, some other president right now. But this is what I mean by not understanding your position, being apolitical, being ahistorical, trying to build leverage with non-participation, and ignoring political history. Nobody wants you as a partner if you start the opening round with, I don't know what's going on in the system, could you bring me up to speed? Nobody's going to team up.
Exactly right.
Team up with you.
Yeah, if her language or proposal entailed making it easier for people to basically sue when they're the victim of a crypto scheme, that would have been great, because poor people in general and Black people in particular are the most victimized by those types of schemes, and elderly are more victimized by those types of schemes. See, that's a kind of proposal right there. Even if it didn't say Black, it still would have benefited us.
Now, now you're making an excellent point right there, because that would have covered the whole game right around, and you hit it right on the head. Black men, as we saw, you know, they tended to, you know, index far higher in this arena, which left us a lot more subject to being scammed and taken advantage of in this market. And that's precisely what did happen, didn't it?
Yep. Oh, let me give you an example of what we did in the Denver metro area. Like, if you go in for any type of schooling, you get a free bus pass if you make under certain specific $1,000 a year. Now, that was something that I was into formulating. I didn't have to say Black people who lived off Martin Luther King or off Colorado Boulevard north of Colfax, or I didn't have to say 5 points to even get that done. We knew who it was going for. And at the end of the day, you don't have to put Black people's name on anything. If you know that you're going to be benefiting from these programs, how you don't get stuff passed, is putting black agenda on it. That's how you don't get it passed. You have to hide it in the actual statistics. Because if it applies to whites over here in the trailer parks and it applies to Latinos over here in the new housing area, it's going to apply to you too. But this is what I mean by the political awareness, that when people are asking for their name to be on stuff, they just want their name to be on stuff and they don't want any type of investment. And we have to get past those type of individuals who think that that's what needs to be done in order for them to get invested or involved with the process. We really have got to sunset trying to bring these people in. Those are people you're never going to be able to reach, especially if they're not asking the other side for anything. No.
Let me get to the next bullet point here. Breaking down unfair and unnecessary barriers to employment for black men. Vice President Harris knows that black men are disproportionately shut out of the job market based on their criminal records and credit scores. Vice President Harris believes that employers should consider a job candidate's qualifications first, without the stigma of a conviction or arrest record. That's why she'll work with Congress to require businesses to limit the use of unnecessary criminal arrest histories, convictions, and credit scores in their employment decisions. Laws like these have been shown to lead to increased employment among black men and have been embraced by 37 states and 150 cities led by both Republican and Democratic governors. This program would build on her work as Attorney General of California and District Attorney, where she implemented nationally recognized and successful programs to help former offenders secure employment, reduce recidivism, and reintegrate into and contribute to their communities. Well, this is interesting, right? Because all this talk about getting into cloud computing and Amazon and AWS and all this stuff, well, a lot of black men can't apply for those jobs because either A, they don't have, what's the federal background check? Not the, what's the federal background? A TSI, a clearance.
TSI.
You need a secret clearance, right? Hard to get a secret clearance when you got a little bit of blemishes on your joint. So I didn't hear Trump talking about that. Number two. And number three, Obama in 2015 had banned the box, right? And that was supported by both Congress and the Senate, okay? That allowed black men to get jobs working in the federal side. And I think what Harris was trying to do was expound on that by removing the credit scores and credit lookups and stuff like that, because they do that to discriminate against people. They even use zip codes now, right?
That's exactly correct.
And so what she's really identifying is all the barriers that are systemic for black men to get these federal, state, and even contractor jobs working for defense contractors and whatnot that prevent you from being there in the first place. Now, according to the black manosphere, she's not even qualified to be a dog catcher. Now, according to this,
I think what's also interesting about it's interesting that in light of the assault on the Voting Rights Act, she laid out an adverse impact argument. That's the argument that we've argued successfully for most of the time since the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It was very successful, and if she was in office or some president was in office still thinking along those lines, they would be trying to advance our equality of opportunity as opposed to taking away foundational arguments that we've been successful at implementing. So it's a completely different flavor from the stench we're dealing with right now.
Very well said. Which also brings me to the point that many of these people who coming back and doing this criticism, they didn't seem to have much knowledge of what was going on with these types of programs, that with these types of ideas and was being put forth with her programs with respect to that of advancing black men here. They weren't aware of any of this. They didn't speak on this, but yet they certainly went against her and said that she didn't have anything for them, or came in too late. I keep bringing that up because that's one of the big, actually complaints that I heard. Oh, it's too late. Let me get on up out of here. And they stepped on out of here. Now but with the other guy who had nothing for you, and here he is now. Now that he's in for the second term, this other guy is literally shutting you down all over. I understand why so many people are running out and saying some of the crazy things that they're saying now and trying to play a duck and cover game, because these guys were really way out of line on a lot of this, and they didn't really see what was going on. And I don't know what else to say except that these guys they missed it horribly.
And that's another example that it doesn't have to say black. It's exactly. all types of people of different ethnic groups go to prison and are subject to that type of quote unquote discrimination. So it doesn't have to say black in order to support or advance a black agenda. Our issues are human rights issues mostly.
And look, I was a victim of that myself. Like when I was IT, before I had went into transportation, I put in like 2,000 applications over 2 years. The 20 interviews I did have, you know what knocked me out of the conversation? Credit score, not aptitude. Yeah, and it's like, well, we're doing this with the credit, and they're just using that to just clear out a whole bunch of people. And it was like I couldn't even get to interview because I couldn't get past the credit score, because you have to use credit cards, max out this, max out that, in order to do things. But it was like I wasn't even allowed to even showcase my actual skill set because my credit score wasn't good. And it's like, what kind of nonsense is that? Is that a credit score is stopping me from being an IT project manager?
Structural racism.
Crazy
that
talk.
Policy is going to eliminate a lot of poor people, which is going to be mostly black.
Mm-hmm. That is for sure.
That's how it
here's
works.
The thing.
That's how racism
they
works.
could just say that to get me out the conversation, when they could just turn around and just let somebody else through the door and not even do that for them.
It happens all the time.
But apparently you're more qualified if you don't have a black male agenda and a Republican. But if you do have a black male agenda and Democrat, you're still not qualified. So I think I get what the qualifications are.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. Expanding pathways for black men to good paying jobs, whether or not they have a college degree. Vice President Harris will also eliminate unnecessary degree requirements and promote meaningful pathways for those without college degrees for 500,000 federal jobs. And she will challenge the business community to do the same. She will set a goal to double the number of registered apprenticeships in America by the end of her first term, which provide quality training in high demand industries with a clear pathway to a good paying job, and will bring together high schools, trusted community organizations like the National Urban League, state and local governments, and the private sector to ensure black men are able to get the training and technical credentials they need to succeed in these registered apprenticeship opportunities and access jobs in highly paid, sought after professions. Moreover, she will help black men stay in school by investing in programs aimed at retention and graduation of black men and boys, not just from high school, but also from quality career technical education programs and 2- and 4-year institutions providing ongoing mentorship and support. So this is really interesting because in the manosphere, in the black manosphere, there was this big brouhaha a few years ago about college versus not going to college, okay?
Oh, God.
And there was a lot of black men who did not feel they had to go to college, so they wanted to go take something AWS course, right? And they went all the way to the manosphere enclave to go to this, enclave to do AWS training by some rogue AWS guy that, who speaks Russian and, Das Vidanya, whatever it is that he does, right? Now, because all of this is really good when you're trying to apply for a federal role, because they're very strict on what you, because like if you don't have like what's the standards? IAT standards, right? IAT 1, IAT 2, IAT 3, right? And what that means is that information assurance technical lead 1, 2, and 3. These are the levels when you talk about IT. And for a minimum, you need to have like a college degree, 2 to 4 year, from a 2 to 4 year institution, and you have to have a certification within the time frame that they require it, whether it's 30 days or 90 days or whatever it is. 2 and 3. 3 is the highest level. I'm saying all that to say that what she is suggesting, the vice president at the time was suggesting, was that the barriers into entry for these roles would be removed. And many states have adopted it, more Democratic states than Republican states, to allow access to these roles. Okay. And I think this is a very good step because there are a lot of Black men who don't go to college, for whatever reason. It might be their choice. Maybe they just couldn't afford it. You have to also think about Pell Grant expansion, right? Pell Grants pay a good, handsome lump sum of money for you to go to school, depending on what your average household income is. A lot of Black men weren't doing all that well during the pandemic, from what I gather, despite all the high value man talk, right? We start to find out there was a lot of Black men who were living in efficiencies and stuff like that in Pennsylvania, but no one takes that into consideration that this is really, really important, because back when USA Jobs had jobs on there was a lot of jobs that went unfulfilled in the IT sector. And I think that when you think about what Kamala Harris is saying, I think that it's really strategic. Black men are some of the most underrepresented men or demographics in the IT industry. I think less than 10% of IT leaders are Black men, or Black for that matter. Less than 5% are cybersecurity leaders, for that matter. There's a dire need to fulfill cybersecurity roles. I think this is great. I didn't hear the other guy talking about this at all.
Yes, and I want to say shout out to Howard University, HU. I was a student at Howard at the same time as Kamala Harris. I did not know her, but it says to me that she learned well, because that too is another area of structural racism, requiring degrees and higher certifications where it cannot be justified for that job. So if we're going to have a Black male agenda, let's become vigilant about requiring that employers justify whatever standards they place on the job requirement. It's like college degree. That's too broad. You can't prove that a person without a degree doesn't already have those skills. And there are trade groups out here, trade associations. There are a lot of places where people in the community learn on the job. I know back in the 80s when I got my first real, big paying job in media. Shout out to the National Urban League, okay? Shout out to them, because they helped me get the job, because I was discriminated against. And it happened, this is going to echo what MOT just said earlier about his experience. I applied to this broadcast company, let's put it like that. So I had a lot of work in the community in broadcasting years. I knew a lot of people in the community. I was pretty known. So I knew how to do everything that they did. And I didn't even get a response when I applied. Not at all. Just, it was as if I didn't even apply. So I'm still out there looking for a job. This is in the mid 80s. So this is ancient time ago, okay? Like 40 years ago. Told y'all in top pitch voice, I'm older than I sound, all right? So I go to the National Urban League, who had a job bank. They had in their job bank the job I had applied for, and where I got no response. And I explained to them that, hey, I applied to this job and I didn't get a response at all. And they said, give me your resume. I said, well, I already sent it to them. Would you like me to type it over or change it? This is typing. We didn't have computers then. So if you make an error, you got to type the whole damn page over, or get this white out and type over it. But anyway, so they said, Sir, when you do, as I said, when you just give me a copy of your resume, I gave it to them. They said, we're going to put our cover letter over the same resume that you sent to them. You're going to get a response this time. Sure enough, I got a response. I was told that they had a pre-employment test that's in the skill area of the job, and that if I pass the test, then I could get an interview. They don't even interview you if you don't know enough. So I passed the test. I learned later that most people fail the test. So it's very few black folks there. So when they say most people fail the test, that means most white folks. Okay. So I passed it the first time. Didn't get a great score, but I passed it. Got the interview, eventually got the job. Later, when I came to the place, I saw the few black folks that were there. They were organized. And they were challenging discriminatory acts in hiring at the company. And so I joined that movement and all that. The rest is history. But just to make the point again about her proposal with respect to this college degree requirement. Now, fast forward, I'm at the company. I stayed there at that company for like 25 years. Okay. So, had great responsibility and all that. Became basically writing policies and procedures. Okay, so I became a stellar troublemaker, rebel rounder, but still a respected employee. I managed to do it all. But later, the company put on the job application, must have a college degree. That wasn't on there when I first applied. So being the rebel rouser, I went to human resources and asked, why is this a requirement? Why are you stopping the next me? I'm not a marginal worker here. They knew I was like a leader there. So why can't the next me come here? Why do they have to go to college? Give them the same test you gave me, the same test you give everyone else. But the point is, before I went to the Urban League, they never even told me there was a test. And so the human resources, I got them to eventually remove it as a requirement. But she said the reason why I put must have a college degree, and she said, you remember that last job opening we had in your category? I said, yes. She said, I had 2,000 applicants for that one job. She said, there's no way I can read 2,000 applications. She said, putting college degree on there thins out the responses. I said, but you're infringing on the individual rights of applicants to have equal opportunity. So that heightened me to the abuse of the practice of putting college degree on the form. And I think it also works against workers in terms of unionization, because when you have an employee taking a job and they arrive in debt, that's an intimidated worker. That worker that's trying to pay off that loan is not going to vigorously fight for their rights. So as much as having a college degree, I'm not against the degree. Get one if you want one, if you think you need one. But I'm saying that's part of our equal opportunity in America. We must recognize that the college degree requirement is functioning in many cases, not all cases, in many cases, as a race and class filter. And we have to make that part of our Black male agenda. Okay?
Yeah.
Especially in light of this Cheyenne Bryant. You see how far people will go to have a status upgrade to convert that to economic opportunity. And it's bogus. There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got a lot of people calling themselves master teacher as well. But let's go to MOT.
Yeah. It's just that for me, with that experience, like they would have like there's couple corporations that they would have the degree thing in there, and then they would lateral move over a person that only has a high school education, and they forget about all the qualified applicants, and then they'll just pick somebody who don't have it. So for me, I know that these companies, if they was to get industry input, they don't require a degree for all this. And I don't want somebody with some communications degree or some arts degree to try to bar actual qualified individuals who have 10, 15 years of experience in the actual particular job to not have it because they don't have some arbitrary degree with a whole bunch of student loan debt. That's crazy. But at the end of the day, this is what this stuff is about. It is about eliminating you from the pool so that way they don't even have to interview. Right. And I've seen this stuff, like I've seen my job be posted. And then when I got the job, you know, a master's degree, I had that, master's IT project management. Next thing you know, the job is reposted. It's reposted for far less money. Now they just require an AA and science. So I'm like, so y'all needed all this stuff because of me. Now I'm here, I qualify for everything. You're going to replace the person, give them like half the pay, and then require half of the degree. Like, come on, man. What is going on here with this degree stuff? It's arbitrary. It doesn't make any sense.
Let me just ask this real quick, Mike. And when I got the job, I found later white guys was coming up to me telling me, A, they failed the test and they were able to take it over after they remembered all the questions. And B, some told me they never were given the test at all. But we got to make this part of our black male agenda, you know.
Yeah, let me try to speed through this really quickly. Providing more pathways for black men to become teachers and school leaders. Only 1% of public school teachers are black men. Vice President Harris will build a pipeline of black male teachers, including by investing in programs under the Department of Education, which Trump wants to eliminate, to collaborate with historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, and MSIs that will empower black men and others to enter and succeed in the teacher profession, where they can serve as role models and mentors to students and improve academic outcomes. Invest in grant programs for mentorship and leadership development. Vice President Harris will commit to expanding and funding for existing community mentorship programs that have a proven track record of helping young black men succeed and connecting them with established leaders in various fields, thereby establishing the next generation of community leaders. She will also support programs like My Brother's Keeper and increase investments in leadership training and mentorship in public schools, as well as HBCUs and MSIs, to provide more opportunities for young black men to develop leadership skills early and throughout their development. Providing financial support to financially stressed farmers and ranchers, including black farmers and ranchers that have been denied access to the capital by banks and the federal government for discriminatory reasons. Vice President Harris already distributed more than $2 billion to more than 43,000 farmers and ranchers, including thousands of black farmers and ranchers who were discriminated against and denied to loans and other financial support from banks and the federal government. Now she'll commit to scaling up this program by providing additional financial support to more farmers and ranchers as ranchers facing financial stress, including black farmers and ranchers, so that they can grow their farms and ranches and stay competitive. Providing black men and their families with reliable, low-cost internet access. Relieving the burden of medical debt so black men can take advantage of opportunities to build wealth and start businesses. More than 1 in 4 black households report having medical debt significantly higher than the rate of medical debt for all adults. Vice President Harris plans to work with states to relieve medical debt, the leading cause of bankruptcy in America, will disproportionately help black Americans. She will also implement a rule that would remove medical bills from most Americans' credit reports, enabling them to more easily be approved for mortgages, car loans, and more. Indeed, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau estimates that roughly 22,000 more safe mortgages could be approved annually as a result of the rule. You know, this one is really interesting because so many black men in the manosphere have passed away the last few years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And no one really knew that they were either sick or anything like that. But when you think about the passing of so many black men in the manosphere, how many of them would have benefited from having access to the Affordable Care Act or other, Medicaid or Medicare expansion? A lot of black men are not thinking about this. A lot of black men during the pandemic were turned away, either because they just couldn't be seen by the ER, or they did not have healthcare coverage because they didn't think they needed it. And then when they needed it, there was nothing to be done. It was too late down the down that path. It was too downstream at that point. I would think that a lot of black men would benefit greatly from, having medical debt removed from their record, their credit reports and things like that. But I'm surprised that so many black men. I mean, you think about rappers. How many rappers have passed away?
Oh my God, rappers!
Whether you're talking about Nate Dogg, you're talking about DMX, you're talking about
MC Breed.
Yeah, MC Breed. There's many rappers that you can name off the top of your head that passed away just in the last 5 to 10 years that did not have wills. They did not have healthcare coverage. They,
ODB, remember him?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit older, but, when you're talking about the last 5 or 10 years, there's a lot of black rappers who, and artists who just passed away for the most nefarious reasons, just not having access to quality care. So
comedians too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, comedians too.
And the healthcare thing leads into that age discrimination thing. It's like,
yes,
until
it
you
does.
get like 45 and up, you don't really. And if you're listening and you're under 45, I have some bad news for you. When you get up to around 40, mid 40s, you got this thing called age discrimination. It's tacked right on top of your race discrimination. Okay, It doesn't get any better. Then when you get in your 50s, your body starts giving you the middle finger, and weird stuff start happening. So yeah, this would have helped us. This would have helped a lot of black men.
Yeah, we were talking about that. I was talking about that for some years, because realizing that, we do have black men on the whole we live a little bit shorter, and we tend to have a little worse medical outcomes because of treatment, and when we seek treatment and so on. So we have more negative outcomes, and this is something that is kind of still trending, and that's and the attack on the healthcare system today is certainly going to without question yield even further worse results, especially for those in our community, and definitely going to be higher amongst black men. But this has to be highlighted, and we have to look at this and take this much more seriously, because the way things are evolving now, we can talk about what was going on then as well. We're going to be seeing some greater problems coming up.
And so, if I understand it correctly, if you are in debt, you cannot get a high level security clearance, right?
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah,
that's true.
So all these roads converge.
That's
true.
Yeah,
this would have helped a lot in a lot of areas.
Yeah, a lot of intersectionality in regards to how systemic racism is, on top of the other pressing issues that black men face that I think that her agenda would have addressed, including, let me just touch on the last one, legalizing recreational marijuana and creating opportunities for black Americans to succeed in this industry. The cannabis industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. We're talking about 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 billion dollars. When you think about how many black men were arrested, when I was a teenager, a lot of black men were arrested just for dime bags and stuff like that. Now that these laws have been rolled back, decriminalization of marijuana and then the legalization of cannabis distribution, black men should be at the forefront of this burgeoning industry. And I don't understand why anybody would want to argue against something like this. Here we had the Social Equity Initiative for Cannabis that put forth those who have been disproportionately impacted by the drug laws. That means if you miss school for whatever reason, whether it's high school or elementary school, if you were evicted under a raid or some other, because of the laws itself, because of the system, if you were pulled over and you lost your license and you lost your vehicle through asset forfeiture or something like that, you qualified for first position to open up a cannabis dispensary. We started that in Massachusetts, okay? These things are of the best interests of black men to fight for. Even though I don't smoke, even though I have no vested interest in the industry, I went to every single meeting just to show presence for black men, right? And so this is one. I mean, this is a very unique opportunity because no other industry even exists like this, right? You talk about fishing and wildlife and stuff like that. There's no such thing as Black men having access, to these sort of initiatives. If you're a Black man, if you know somebody who's a Black man who is disproportionately impacted by the drug laws, it is in your best interest to support things like this, because when you open up a dispensary, and because on the federal side, it wasn't, at the time, it was not deregulated, you could not get a bank loan. What the city of Boston did and what the state of Massachusetts did is that it fast-tracked, it earmarked funds for those who took first position, which were Black men, to open up dispensaries. And they prevented white people from opening dispensaries in predominantly Black areas. This is monumental. So when people say, oh, Democrats didn't do anything and, they never do anything for anybody, this is one area that Black men could easily capitalize on. Even if you don't smoke, even if you don't consume, you should be invested in this, into this industry. Go ahead.
I actually agree, because they was kicking people out of school. If you got pulled over if you had any type of pending drug charge, they kicked your ass out of school, too. Yeah. Terminated your student loan on the spot until your case was over with for being arrested for it, not convicted, arrested for it. And they would push these cases out 2-3 years, and next thing you know, you can't even graduate with your people. You can't skill up. You can't get no student loan, nothing. I mean, you just kind of locked in at the bottom. Again, this is a political literacy type question, but it's too late for the coulda, shoulda, woulda. And like a lot of places, we got to start over. But at the end of the day, we got to set the standards of the conversation with, you got to be up to date in order for your complaints to matter. Because otherwise, we'll have these wraparound conversations where Republicans don't need to bring anything to the table, and Democrats can bring things to the table and everybody ignore it. There's no real reason or no excuse for that. Not in my book.
Anybody else?
I'd have to say totally agree with that. Definitely have to invest in it. These are things that we should be moving aggressively forward with.
Maybe this what Nagon just said, and MOT said, made me think of the Last Poets. This made a comment basically that you have to be for something more than you're against something. And that's what, unfortunately, Black people, we major in being against something. We'll tell you what we don't like, but we don't have proposals to make it better.
When you combine the cannabis industry with cryptocurrencies, with digital protections, regulatory frameworks, I mean, I can go on. I can start a whole stream just on that alone. In fact, we used to cover cannabis streams with Complex Design, and so we've expounded on this many times before. But Black men were in the perfect position to take advantage of this. Now you get nothing with this administration that's in office right now, and good for you if you voted for it. Let's go to CNBC, because I think this is also relevant. I'll just play 30 seconds of it because I think it is important for people to understand that she did not come out with this agenda just because somebody said so at the time that this came out during 2024 election. Let me play this from CNBC.
Right now to talk about all of this is Charles Phillips. He is co-founder and managing partner of Recognize. He's the co-chair of the Black Economic Alliance and a board member at American Express, Paramount Global, and Compass. And Charles, thanks for coming in today.
Glad to be here.
Let's talk a little bit, first of all, about why you are a supporter, why you're coming on today.
Well, I've known her since 2003 when I lived in the Bay Area. When we started the Black Economic Alliance, there were 2 senators that joined us, 70 business people and 2 senators. One was Cory Booker. The other one was Kamala Harris in 2017. So she's been working on these issues about the Black economy for a long time. And to me, she has receipts on this. And so I think she's authentic. She has some good ideas. She surrounds herself with smart people. A lot of ideas that come, some are good, some are bad, and she's good at kind of deciphering which ones to go with.
Now, people in the manosphere said, hey, she's not even qualified to be a dog catcher. I would rather vote for Robert F. Kennedy. Jill Stein is a better candidate. Not according to this brother from the Black Economic Alliance. Not according to that.
Not even close.
Not even close. Let's skip over to this. The 19-point Black male agenda, political agenda, okay, by T.S.R. Johnson and other Manusfarians who decide that they want to contribute to this agenda, okay? Let me just read it high level. Black male political agenda is a living document that continues to be augmented with the policy ideas from mostly Black men that are designed solely to improve the quality of life for Black males across age, class, income, geography, occupation, sexuality, and color. It contains policy ideas that are state-based, federal, and or both. The ideas proposed here unapologetically identify the target audience when drafted into policy: Black males. Should be made clear that these policies are not designed for normally deferred to when politicians try to deflect from giving Black men resources, such as people of color, the poor, right? Well, let's talk about this. Let's look at the streamlined list of 19 points here. Family court reform, okay? State issue.
Can you make it bigger so we can...
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Family court reform, okay? State issue. This is the number one thing that Black men seem to be concerned about. But in the Black manosphere, there's a lot of childless Black men. So how do you square the circle with childless Black men and family court reform?
Well, you know what? In fairness, I wouldn't. Are we supposed to regard this as a list of in like priority order, or is it just? He said it's a living document. So I'm not gonna assume that the way that it's ordered is like from most important to least important. Unless I'm getting it wrong, unless he said that. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, if it had any sort of priority, it doesn't seem to be structured in the last few years. According to them, it started September 24th, 2020, and this document was last updated January 23rd to 2026, right? So if it had any sort of rank to it, they haven't articulated that, right? And so I'm only going off of what this is saying, right? That number one is family court reform. I mean, they should have a ranking system as to where on the list of priorities should this be adjudicated, right? Because when you say family court reform at the state issue, well, mostly Republican states are not necessarily interested in family court reform at this point. Because if that was the case, you would see more Republicans running on this whole entire agenda, and I don't really see Tom Cotton or Mitch McConnell and any of these guys, running on this. What about Daniel Cameron in Kentucky? Is he running on this? I don't think so.
I mean, Mike, let's keep it real. It's a crowdsourced blackmail political ignorance based document. It was meant to and set up for maximum emotional appeal. It was nothing that was real about this. That none of this stuff was on the ballot anywhere. I mean, he lives in a liberal state to where worst place to get married, worst place to get divorced, worst place to have a child custody argument. And he presented this stuff to no one within his state. But people, and he lives in a liberal state, but everybody else is supposed to give up their liberal stuff. I can't even do this. Yeah, but
well, for the sake of compare and contrast between her agenda and this 19-point agenda, we have to examine it.
But this is the way I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it as a not by priority, a draft, like he said, and then within the broader context, which leader could advance these? It's more like which party and Democrat or Republican, and which candidate, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, would be most supportive of advancing these agenda items that are important to Black men.
Yes, Dollar.
Yeah, but Dollar Will, make no mistake, this is a liberal document.
Of
All
course
these are
it
liberal
is.
complaints.
Of course it is.
Always the Liberal Party's going to do any of these things.
Of course it is. Are you looking at this? This is some part of a conservative agenda.
Maybe they think that these are like new, different, better conservatives. I don't know.
Different, better conservative.
Progressively conservative.
I
mean, let's really go through this, right? Really high level. Affirmative action for Black men.
Which party will help us more?
Yeah, I'd like to know that, right? Affirmative action for Black men in this time where affirmative action has been struck down at Harvard and many other Ivy League institutions, where DEI has been struck down. From the federal, in fact, it was only 2 weeks ago in April, or a few weeks ago in April of this year that the president dropped the hammer on DEI. Basically, if any organization, if any state, if any municipality is receiving federal dollars and has DEI in their agenda or affirmative action, in fact, he just sued Harvard. He just sued Harvard last month for having affirmative action and DEI in still in their institution.
But Harvard's holding the line. Harvard's saying the hell with you. They're playing it like that. They're saying you're not going to determine what goes on over here. And and they're going to punish them for it.
Yeah. So to Dollar Will's point, which party would be more favorable to advance this agenda? I don't think that the Republican Party today has any interest in affirmative action for Black men. They don't even support the Black men within their own party, whether it's Byron Donalds, John James, Wesley Hunt, Burgess Owens, Tim
Scott.
What are we talking about here? What about the guy from Atlanta, or from Georgia? The conservative young brother who opened up the school. The one who
I know who you talking about. I can't remember his name.
The dark-skinned brother in Georgia who opened up the school. I see his face in my head, but I can't remember his name. Anyways, that conservative brother, who didn't identify with political parties, but was showing up at the White House in February 2025. At the Black History gala that the Trump administration had funded. Damn, I forget his name, man. And it's on the tip of my tongue too. And I'm gonna go crazy if I don't figure it out.
Let me give you some old man advice. Keep going, it'll come to you.
Oh yeah,
you trying too hard. It's never gonna come to you. Keep trying, man.
All right. Roland Martin went toe to toe with this brother. I see his face right now.
Mike, let it go, man.
Nah, man, I gotta get it, man. I gotta get it.
We're gonna get an hourglass with sand. Count down to Mike's memory. Mike's memory glass.
King Randall is his name.
Okay.
King Randall. This guy had a program for Black boys where supposedly he was teaching them skills and all that type of stuff. And he was basically punching at the ear last year about not getting any funding, for his school. Well, that's because a new administration came in and put a stop to all of that. Okay.
The DEI kids.
Yeah. So when I hear affirmative action for Black men, I gotta kind of scratch my chin and kind of question, which administration and which party is going to advance that? Not this one. Targeted homelessness programs. Not this one.
DEI.
Yeah, not this one.
Nope.
Targeted unemployment programs.
Wait a minute. On the homeless program, wasn't there an assault on Section 8?
Yeah,
Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
yeah. In order to fund, ventures abroad in the Middle East, right? Targeted unemployment programs. Well, Kamala Harris has one of those. I mean, we just saw that right here, right? We just saw that here in her agenda. So what are we talking about here? Criminal law reform and law enforcement. Any takers on this one?
Criminal law in
Well, we know that the conservatives, when you have that law and order side, is what they call themselves. We know it's never going to be in our best interest. That's going to likely increase our membership and participation in the prison industrial complex.
Well, I mean, it's only law and order against, black crimes.
Correct. That's what I mean. Right.
Yeah.
So if you put that proposal in front of the Republicans, it's not going to come back the way you intended it.
Because decriminalization of marijuana, which party advocated for that?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
And most of the legalization is going on in what kind of states versus what kind of other states? Okay.
Yeah. Intimate partner violence, homicide policy reform. Yeah, I'm trying to understand which state and which party is going to advance that. Well, that's not necessarily DEI, but that's more,
agenda. I take that to mean a gender neutral position on violence and not presuming that man equals violent. And I don't think either party would help with that. All right, let's just be real. I don't think we would be a friend in either side for that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a certain type of way that you get justice in these type of situations. I could go through that, but these people are not getting away with that type of stuff nowadays. Like I said, it's for maximum emotional appeal. None of this stuff is realistic, and this stuff. Look, especially as a PhD, you can provide tons of research. There's no need to crowdsource ignorance on this. You could just pick any one of these issues and take it to your actual state. You're a PhD, you teach. What is going on here? You don't need to ask these people anything.
Yeah.
You can just show people what you've done. It's not that hard.
Yeah, health-targeted treatment and recognition for heart disease, cancer, suicide, HIV campaign. I mean, which party do you think is going to support healthcare initiatives when they don't even, trust their own CDC and, they don't even have any qualified people to support things like this in the administration right now?
And this would be considered a social program, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which party does not want to spend money on social programs?
Yeah, at this point, not the Republican Party.
And if you look at all the states that refuse Medicaid expansion, what kind of states are those? But this policy initiative has come together by a guy who's middle of the road and independent and don't take a party side, but created an entirely liberal document that is most likely going to be passed by the Democratic Party. But live in a completely liberal state, but he's independent, but super worried about wrapping his arms around the people who didn't vote to actually create some type of leverage so that way they can get more out of just the Democratic Party and don't ask the Republican Party for anything. Crazy talk.
Well, what I'm identifying here is that which one of these agenda items would be supported by the party most likely, right? And when you think about Kamala Harris's document, her black male agenda, it really touches on a lot of these issues already. So I'm not entirely sure why they classify it as a state issue versus federal when, in fact, a lot of your states get federal funding, to take on these initiatives to begin with. But you don't have any federal funding coming in because the Trump administration has basically snatched all of that money back that Biden had earmarked in the first place. So all your healthcare, that's why all your rural clinics and hospitals are closing in places like Georgia and these red states because there's no federal dollars coming in.
Exactly correct. They dried it up.
It couldn't be because she's a woman, is it?
No, it could be that.
No.
Not because she's black.
No.
Because
What
he's
you
voting
would?
for Obama. So
What,
no, I don't know why.
what are you talking about?
Targeted small business support. I haven't heard anything from this administration talking about small business support. So,
No. They are targeting, but not the way you want them to.
Bullseye.
Oh yes.
Because the white woman in Georgia who used to own the WNBA team is now in charge of it, Kelly Loeffler.
Yes.
In charge of the SBA. So what kind of business support is going to come out of that? Not very much for black men. So when you look at Harris's agenda, when you think about the Democratic Party, and then you weigh it against what's happening right now, I don't know. Social Security and life insurance family support. I mean, they're talking about cutting Social Security right now.
Man,
I don't know, man. I don't know where they come up with this. Paternity leave.
So I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
How many of these do you depend on the Republican Party with thus far? None of them.
Well, let's look at number 12, reverse voter disenfranchisement. Well, there goes your Voting Rights Act. There goes the VRA, right?
Right there.
I mean, but that was a political Itmore who said it wasn't a good idea. We have to, do a review of that pile of ignorance. So
Yeah. Black male-specific reparations for the transatlantic slave trade through 21st century hyper-incarceration. At the federal, this is a federal issue they're classifying this as, okay? You have an
Black
administration.
male specific.
Yeah,
Maybe they made Pacific. Maybe they made Pacific,
Progressive Republicans will support that, right?
Oh, yeah. Progressive Republicans.
When you really think about what Trump said last year, that white men should get reparations for the civil rights movement in the 1960s. Yeah, I don't think that's on the Republican agenda right now. You say it's a federal issue. Name me one Republican right now that supports reparations.
Yeah, who do we turn to, Mike? Who do we turn to?
Mitch McConnell doesn't support it. He's in the Senate. John Kennedy in Louisiana doesn't support it. He's in the Senate. Lindsey Graham is in the Senate. He doesn't support it.
Certainly does.
Byron Donalds is in Congress. He doesn't support it. Wesley Hunt is in Congress. He doesn't support it. John James is in Congress. He doesn't support it. Okay, Tim Cotton is in the Senate. Tom Cotton is in the Senate. Doesn't support it. Who are you working with? From a federal standpoint, who are you talking to? There's only one party right now that supports HR 40. Okay. What's so difficult to understand this?
Right. It's like they took something that's simple and made it complex. But again, I'm a registered Democrat. That does not mean that I love my party. We have a two-party system that I propose that we put on the black male agenda the expansion of the American political spectrum beyond two parties.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that's what's really screwing us up. We have a lot of these white folks that are not very far apart ideologically, and they're in both camps, and they control both to minimize us no matter where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but that's how come you don't divide the vote up into a third party, because
thank you.
That leans towards like just FBA kind of like, well, we're not going to participate until we formulate like you hear like a bunch of people like online who hold these type of ignorant based debates about things that don't matter about anything, like a lot of these pro-black camps, and they talk about, oh well, what about a black only party? And it's like, where do you live? California. Okay, you live in the most liberal thing that you what else do you want? And they're like, oh well, we just want everything done. We just don't want to participate. And it's like, okay, all right.
Yeah, honestly, I'm one of those pro-blacks, but I have never heard that argument. I don't know what. Not saying it's not out there, but I would not represent that.
No. I'm talking about entertainment pro-blacks. It's like, but you have to understand.
I think they're serious.
Don't really. You have to understand, but your pro-blackness has a voting component to it. Most of these entertainment pro-blacks, voting is not a component of it. That's what I'm actually talking about. Not you.
See, right now we're splitting the vote among. We speak of our consolidation in one party as a negative, but it's actually a positive.
It is a positive.
It's extremely positive. And if we are ineffective at this point, then it's time to consider expanding beyond, so that the American public at large will have more than just those two choices. There may be, at this point, I think there are enough poor whites and poor other folks who are disaffected with both parties. Mm-hmm. Okay, but without creating, revamping the system so that a third party or the additional parties, I'm not going to limit it to three, the additional parties will get equal standing to the Democratic and the Republican parties. It has to.
But you would have to be a parliamentary system at that point, and we're not going to turn a democracy into a parliamentary system because people won't pick one party over the other. I mean, like, most of these people just don't participate. They want all this liberal stuff, but then there's this block on their head that somehow the existence of trans people, or let's just call them quote unquote Mexicans, stop them from actually voting for a particular party. And it's like, hey man, you gotta leave them dudes out there. Yeah. I do not want to give these people any type of more power than they already have through non-participation.
Yeah, that Christian nationalism thing, it's grown to be a very powerful force, and I think that's at the bottom of what we're talking about when we talk about this swing of black folks going quote conservative or Republican. It's my opinion that's really what it is. It's just Christian nationalism. And a lot of black folks have gotten caught up into that.
Well, Christian nationalism, when you really look at it, that's more of a white supremacist base of, kind of a power base there.
That's true, but the blacks in it don't realize that that's what they're supporting.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I don't think a lot of them don't even care.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Because if you take off the label and just look at the agenda of what they stand for, then you listen to a lot of what the people in the Black Manosphere that are opposing or promoting the conservative agenda, just take the name Christian nationalism off and look at what they stand for. You tell me how different they are.
Well, a lot of these guys are not standing behind Christian nationalism. They really are getting behind this whole thing from let's say, I would say from almost a masculinist kind of standpoint, where they're trying to run parallel to what these guys are talking about, patriarchy and controlling the household and being the leader and so on and so forth. And then black men have been kind of usurped from this position, and they need to get their patriarchal position back and stand on top of this and control this female. And they think they're trying to link that up in line, I think, somewhat with respect to where this political angle is coming from, and they're just
But I agree with you, Nicole. But if you strip the labels off and you look at that perspective you just described with the trad cons and the Christian nationalists, and you just look at the agenda items, they're far more alike than different.
Well, I think that this, if you're saying that runs somewhat in parallel, I would agree with some of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So number 14, the United Nations.
And a lot of that is counter to a black male agenda. That's all. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Number 14, United Nations, we charge the U.S. with genocide of the black male, federal issue. Yeah, which party is more likely to support this?
Genocide. I mean, that's pretty obvious where we're going with that.
I mean, we had Rand Paul filibuster the anti-lynching bill in 2020.
He sure did. And do you remember the reasons as to why he said it was?
Go ahead.
Reasons were, hey, well, we're lynching people, but if we're not, if somebody injures someone or doesn't really come across as a lynching, then we can't really call it a lynching, and we can't really support the bill. It was some of the craziest stuff I've ever heard as to the reasons as to why, he was going against this, and it was really crazy as to what his reasons were. But he didn't. But they didn't support a bill against you being lynched.
Yeah, Title VII reform. Now, this is one area I think they may get some traction with the Republican Party on. The only problem is who is going to advocate for that. Because right now, no one's really talking about Title VII reform at this level. Who's really talking about that?
I don't hear anyone speaking about it.
Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House.
They're not talking about it.
Yeah. Data disaggregation. This is coming from the same people, at least one guy who told me on a panel not too long ago that I don't need data to do analysis. Let that sink in, okay? Black men's rights to self-defense. Well, let's think about Philando Castile, okay? Because that happened under that guy's first administration.
Or John Crawford.
Yeah. Philando Castile happened under that other guy's administration, first one. Okay. Did anybody come out? Did the NRA come out and support this?
Of course not.
They did. They didn't even bring it up. Well, they should have been. This man was licensed to carry.
Yeah. So, I don't know. So, false accusation offender registry. I don't know if any party would likely support this, primarily because there's a lot of people right now in office who got accusations against them, and I don't see anybody, being snatched up.
Mike, it's literally covered under perjury. Like, this is something that can easily be done. You don't need a false accusation database. Like I said, it's for emotional appeal. It isn't for actual practicality, because lying under oath is still perjury. If you've proven that you've actually lied, you can be brought up on charges with it. It's just that you just have to have the support of prosecutors to be able to do it. That's all it is. You don't need a damn database or registry for that.
Well, how about this, MOT? I don't know that person's history. Someone made a false accusation against me. Having a registry, I could just run their name. It would be there. It'd be much easier to see what their history is. To have
No. Like, what if you look up their court actual filings in the actual county of where they're at? You can open up those things and see what the actual case was about.
But if this is a national registry, I wouldn't need to know the city, county, and all of that. It would be under the person's name.
Yeah, but then a national registry has to be okay through both houses of Congress, and money has to be put toward it. A national database registry is just not going to happen. Not for that.
No.
But if it were to happen, which side would be more likely?
Democrats, obviously. Like,
okay.
Republicans ain't trying to have nothing like that.
All right.
I disagree with that. I don't think Democrats would support that.
Really?
I kind of don't think so either.
Yeah, because
really? I think they would.
Remember, these are people who are trying to protect the Epstein victims.
That's true.
No. The Democrats. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna leave that alone.
Yeah.
That's messy on all sides.
No, but I'm saying, as an example, right now, they're the ones trying to protect the Epstein victims, right? Even like Marjorie Taylor Greene tried to come out and speak on these people's behalf. I don't think that any of these parties would be willing to have something like that at the national level. Number 19, the last one, GI Bill reparations.
What might that mean? Explain that.
So when the GI Bill was enacted,
blacks were in part.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
black men who weren't served in the military did not get the GI Bill.
So this would be in addition to overall reparations for Black Americans. GIs would be a separate thing.
Well, here's the kicker to this. Senator Raphael Warnock already has a bill on the table, on the floor of the Senate, that has to go back to the House to get its approval too. So so this is coming from Democrats. This isn't coming from Republicans.
Right.
So
look, any reparation for us, I like it, but I do know which party would be more likely to support.
Oh yeah. Oh no doubt. Oh no doubt. Oh no doubt.
So yeah, vote blue, no matter who.
You might want to vote blue, no matter who.
Right.
If you want things on this agenda done.
No matter who.
I don't know.
It's heightening racism. Vote blue, no matter who. Simple. Yeah. It's very simple. You know?
There is not a single bullet point that the Republican Party is just going to go do.
They're not doing anything now, and they have not worked in a whole year. So I'm not entirely sure, where any of this is going. But let's watch this one last video.
Amid the sawing and measuring.
See, like that.
As this wall is built, so are young dreams.
It makes me feel appreciated and wanted.
19-year-old James Shavers is a pre-apprentice at Prosperity Building Futures Trades and Entrepreneurship Training Center here in Calumet Park. The high school grad who lives in Matheson says for a year and 2 months, he tried getting into trade schools for construction, carpentry, plumbing, and to become an electrician.
I've been applying to them multiple times, never got called back, waitlisted. And as soon as I reached out to this program, I got within less than a week.
And you have a full scholarship?
Yes, everything is paid for.
The nonprofit center is funded through state grants. Qualifying students can have their courses fully paid through scholarships. Inside this center, students aren't just learning a trade. They're being given a pathway to stability and purpose.
Right here, I'm learning a career and I'm learning a job. Like, this is something that not everybody knows how to do. This is something that will always be needed.
Students are taught by licensed union instructors like Rashawn Walker. Walker works for a state contractor, building bridges, and is also a college instructor.
I can share what I've learned with some of these kids. I can teach them the path, which is something that I lacked as I was coming up as a youngster in the South Side.
Husband and wife Stephanie and Michael Bennison are the visionaries behind the nonprofit program, which they say is the first Black-owned pre-apprenticeship trades training center in the South Suburbs.
I'm from the South Suburbs, so I had to go from Blue Island, Illinois to Elk Grove Village for 2 months for my pre-apprenticeship. It just opens up the possibility for kids on this side of the Chicagoland area.
Once they learn the basic trades of electrical, HVAC, carpentry, they can go online. If you go on Indeed right now, you'll see maintenance technicians making $30 an hour.
The center provides nationally accredited training and connections to major unions, creating a direct pipeline into high-paying careers.
So we want to focus on giving you short-term certifications that can lead to lucrative family-sustaining wages.
And with the goal of giving these young people a new measure of success. In Calumet Park, Suzanne Lemignot.
Well, this sounds familiar because, champion education, training, mentorship programs that help Black men get good paying jobs in high demand industries and lead their communities, including pathways to become teachers.
Can I point? I'm dying to point something out real fast.
Go ahead.
That brother was in a union. He also teaches at the university. That's what they said. And that's my point about this college degree emphasis crap. We have people at the university level who are active in the community teaching what they teach in the university. So if I'm learning from that person in the community, it's not valid. But if I'm sitting on a college campus 2 miles away, now it's valid. It's crazy. We have to test people based on the skill they have that they've acquired without regard for where they acquired that skill. Go ahead.
And the program is funded through state dollars, which is controlled by none other than Governor Pritzker, a Democrat.
Uh-oh. I wonder what kind of state that is. Uh-oh.
Vote blue. Vote blue.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and you had
Vote
a president.
blue no matter who.
Yeah. You had a president right now in office who wanted to cut Pell Grants. He cut funding to Job Corps, which is what King Randall was complaining about last year. I'm sorry, but where's all the, black red hat supporters now to talk about this? Black male agenda, Kamala Harris. A black male program in Illinois, supported by a governor who's a Democrat. Fully funded. You don't have to pay for anything.
I'm sure Mississippi is just around the corner from getting that done for the blacks down there,
I don't know, man. I mean, I have to reiterate.
The Tay Reeves ain't doing that, man. Come on.
Yeah, I have to reiterate and read this again. Expanding pathways for black men to good paying jobs, whether or not they have a college degree. Vice President Harris will also eliminate unnecessary degree requirements and promote meaningful pathways for those without college degrees for 500,000 federal jobs, and she will challenge the business community to do the same. She will set a goal to double the number of registered apprenticeships in America by the end of her first term, which provide quality training in high demand industries with a clear pathway to a good paying job. She just said $30 an hour. And will bring together high schools and trusted community organizations like the National Urban League, state and local governments, and the private sector to ensure that black men are able to get the training and technical credentials they need to succeed in these registered apprenticeships, opportunities, and access jobs in highly paid, sought after professions. Moreover, she will help black men stay in school by investing in programs aimed at retention and graduation of black men and boys, not just from high school, but also from a high quality career and technical education programs in 2- and 4-year institutions providing ongoing mentorship and support. This last piece here is really important. Investing in programs aimed at retention and graduation of black men and boys, not just from high school, but also from high quality career and technical education programs. Let me pull this up for you really quickly, okay? Institution, okay?
What?
Stephen Bradford, okay? This is really important. Actually, let me increase the size on this, and then we can close out. All right, Senate District 35, Senator Bradford's legislation to create a designation for black serving colleges passes Senate committee. This is in April 2024. Just spoke with him last week about this. Senator Stephen Bradford's legislation to establish a state-level designation recognizing institutions of higher education that excel in educating and serving black students has passed the Senate Education Committee 6-0 with bipartisan support. This is in California. Black students in California and nationally are historically underrepresented in higher education. SB 1348 would create a way to recognize public and private colleges and universities that are making significant commitments to promote black student success. SB 1348 will focus attention on disparities that exist for black students in higher education, Senator Bradford said, by creating a seal of excellence that recognizes that colleges and universities in California that are doing most to support black student success. We recognize their important efforts and encourage others to take similar steps to improve overall outcomes. Senate Bill 1348 would establish criteria for institutions to receive the designation of a Black servant institution, including setting enrollment thresholds, requiring Black student success programs, and robust African American studies programs. Supporters of SB 1348 explained the critical importance of passing legislation. Compton College and Compton Community College District support Senate Bill 1348. Dr. Keith Curry, president of Compton College, said it is important that we, as institutions of higher education, make bold statements and commit ongoing resources to improve student outcomes for all post-secondary education students, but most notably Black and African American students. Senator Bradford should be applauded for his vision and courage in advancing this initiative. Dr. Thomas A. Parham, president, California State University, Dominguez Hills, said. A designation as a Black servant institution of higher education would certainly reflect our California State University, Dominguez Hills student body, but more importantly, help to advance critical support networks for Black students, highlighted by our African-centered curriculum, faculty composition in African American studies and other academic departments, campus services, and programs. The movement of SB 1348 through this committee, in my opinion, is a critical step in creating a blueprint for what a Black servant institution should look like, and a mechanism to recognize those universities and colleges who are moving beyond merely counting demographics to a broader landscape of supporting services and resources that enhance the Black experience and elevate Black excellence on a particular campus. Those of us committed to this effort celebrate this progress in moving this bill forward. So, this idea that Democrats don't do anything to advance the interests of Black men, and Kamala Harris, she just wasn't qualified when she's already talking about this back in 2024, and we know that from this brother from the Black Economic Alliance says that she's been doing this work long before she even became vice president. What are we talking about here? Okay, what are we talking about here? The Black Manosphere has run a misinformation and disinformation campaign against not just the Black Brain Trust, but against the Democratic Party, against Democratic candidates, whether it's Kamala Harris or Jasmine Crockett or many others who are running for office, that somehow, some way, they don't have the interests of Black men, okay? And we now know that based on the agenda, based on the evidence, based on the bills that have been submitted to the House floors, that there has been considerable effort to support Black men. We know that Congresswoman Frederica Wilson down in Florida had the commission to study the social status of Black men and boys, starting before just at the height of the pandemic. Where's the evidence to support the idea that the Democratic Party is not a party that Black men should be invested into with their vote? Anybody else have any closing thoughts?
Relative to the other party.
yeah, relative to the other party.
But we just have a choice of two, okay? So, all I have to say is unionization is part of our civil rights history. We need to remember that the Civil Rights March on Washington, 1964 March on Washington, was a celebration, commemoration of the work of A. Philip Randolph. Now, Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech overshadowed all of that, but that's the historical context for it. It was sort of like a passing of the baton from the old generation to the new, to the young bloods. Martin Luther King was the young blood, and A. Philip Randolph was the establishment prior to him. So, but in these modern times, as we've made progress, we've forgotten about the unionization part. We need that.
Or else, you could just make memes until, Indiana turns into a blue state. So you can always do that.
Yeah, meme yourself to death.
Yeah. Meme team.
To a large extent, this manosphere has been it devolved into very much a misinformation type of medium, where misinformation was a big part of the platform. It's got to be turned, we turn that around. But that's where we've been at, and it's one good thing I have to say. We've got Brain Trust and some others that are out here looking to continue on the pathway of bringing real information in, keeping things, really close to the ground to where things need to be, and just talking the truth about what's going on here, and really what's going on, what is out here for Black men, and let's keep pushing that, because we can see now what's going on, and what's in there is firmly against us, and without a doubt running a anti-Black New Deal, and the Jim Crow 2.0, and a lot of people, and there are many people in the space who've signed on with that, and I find that those positions to be untenable. That's it.
I have one more thing. I'm sorry. Market hell is near. Okay. Stop dragging ass. Get thee to a certified financial planner. Hopefully one that has a CMT designation. That's Chartered Market Technician. These are the expert technical traders, and there are certified financial planners out here that are also CMT certified. Find one of those folks and prioritize what they say over me and everybody else on YouTube. Okay, get you one, run to one. Okay, look up CMT, Chartered Market Technician. That's it.
No, Will, I disagree, man. They can go to the Wall Street Trapper and get all this information. Some hip hop named individual, that's all their, that's all their brains can process.
I hear you, but you know what? I'm a tip my hat to that brother. I've been watching him for years. He's growing and learning. So I'm a big respect to him, man. Because you got to enter somewhere. But at least he's doing the work. I'll tell you, he's doing the work. And he's come a long way from where he was, and he's growing. And I can't say that for everybody that's been in that financial world for 20 years. So a lot of us are growing. I think in terms of financial literacy, there's so much information out here, and a lot of us are taking advantage of it. That comes, of course, after getting destroyed by Bitcoin. But I see a lot of people learning the right information, because there's so much free information out here, and some of it I share in my space, and I see a lot of these the crypto zealots. I see them showing up in the right spaces, getting the real knowledge. But crypto is I don't want to call it a Ponzi scheme, but it's dangerous. It's dangerous. It's a lot of people are going to get taken, and you're going to get taken by the biggest, richest folk out here. You name the big financial firm, they're in the Bitcoin crypto space. They know how to trade. At this point. They know how to trade, and you don't. So,
and it's unregulated.
Yes.
And that was the reason why having been on Wall Street, looking at this stuff, understanding what went on Wall Street in a regulated industry, and some of the stuff that went on there that was really crazy. And this is regulated. Yeah. They're really regulated. Here you're going into this unregulated, where almost anything
and unskilled,
where anything goes, was never going to get involved in this thing at any real serious level because, anything goes here. They can run any game on you. No, it's. But and just take a look. Even your president and these guys have taken full advantage.
See,
of
that's
this.
scary. That's scary. Let me just say this. There's a thing called smart money. There's a thing called dumb money. And I'm gonna go black pill a little bit. You got the whales out there that have billions of dollars, and they're concentrated heavily into what they call the Magnificent Seven. This handful of stocks. Most of the world is in that. They have to find some idiots to sell it to. They can't unload all that money. There have to be a buyer on the other side when they're selling. And we're primed to be the idiots. Dumb money. Get you some help. Get you a certified financial planner. That's a CMT. And if I post something on my channel, you better watch, because I'm not posting stuff regularly, as you can tell, but I will soon start to post more things. And I'm not just putting things up there for trivial reasons because I need the views. I'm not making no money off of YouTube. So if I put something up there, you need to watch it. But this is the time to, get off your butt and go get that help you need, because there are a lot of black folks in terms of black male agenda or black people agenda. There are a lot of people out here with over $1 million in their 401k sitting on $700,000-$800,000 equity in their home, and they're going to lose it all.
Well, people like myself are sitting there easily, and I can tell you. You have these banks and all these other players really trying to get to you so they can get their hands on that money, get their hands on that equity, and tear you out the frame if you don't know what's going on.
And with these kinds of numbers, you're talking about $700,000-$800,000 equity in your home, $1 million plus in your 401k. You need some high-level professional guidance on how to move that amount of money and what to do.
Yeah, on that note, we need to close out. Thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button on the way out. Share the video if possible. Hit the notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust.